It's a great day in Dalton. Justice is being...
It was a beautiful day in Dalton, where the winds of justice were blowing fiercely. Alan Thoron, the town's assessor for the past decade, had witnessed every twist and turn in the community's evolution. From assisting residents with property tax exemptions to navigating the occasional appeals process, Alan had seen it all. But today felt different. Today marked the beginning of something strange. Last month, the town board approved a proposal to call for a federal inquiry into the mayor's activities, setting the stage for an investigation that would shake Dalton to its core. After an emergency meeting, Alan arrived at work this morning to find boxes of private documents scattered across the common area. Even more perplexing, the lock on his office door had been mysteriously changed. The unsettling events continued to unfold as authorities uncovered a massive scandal involving Tiffany Henyard, the long-serving mayor of Dalton. Henyard now stood at the center of a growing storm of corruption allegations. It was recently revealed that she had been under investigation by the FBI for allegedly embezzling substantial sums of local funds, leaving the town teetering on the brink of financial ruin. The mayor, once a fixture in Dalton's political landscape, was suddenly at the heart of a scandal so significant that federal officers executed search warrants at her residence. What they uncovered was a treasure trove of damning evidence, records of lavish vacations, shopping sprees funded by questionable wire transfers, and even a safe containing secret assets. These luxuries were far beyond what anyone would expect from someone in her position. Henyard's opulent lifestyle, marked by designer purses, international travel, and a lavish security detail, starkly contrasted with the dire financial situation of the town she was supposed to serve. While Dalton's hard-working taxpayers struggled to make ends meet, Henyard seemed to be living a life more fitting for a celebrity than a public servant. As new evidence continues to surface, it's becoming clear that her actions have caused irreparable harm to Dalton's finances. The federal investigation is intensifying as the FBI works tirelessly to uncover the full scope of Henyard's corruption. The question on everyone's mind is, how many more lies and deceptive schemes remain to be uncovered? Will Henyard's life of luxury withstand the mounting pressure, or will it all come crashing down around her? The residents of Dalton, once loyal to their mayor, are now calling for answers and justice. While the full extent of her criminal activities remains unknown, more revelations are expected to emerge. As each new discovery adds complexity to the case, the investigation grows more intense. The future of Dalton depends on the truth being exposed. The FBI is closely monitoring Henyard's every move, and as the scope of her deceit becomes harder to ignore, the town waits with bated breath. Will Henyard face the consequences of her actions, or will she continue to live in her luxurious bubble? Stay tuned as this explosive story unfolds. Justice may soon be served, but not without its share of surprises. The end of Henyard's political career could be just around the corner, and with the investigation deepening, one thing is certain: the truth will come to light. The most infamous mayor in Dalton's history, Tiffany Henyard, has undergone a significant transformation in recent months. Once a frequent cause of controversy, she has now mysteriously vanished from the public eye. Despite what seemed like her inevitable downfall, Henyard is being watched closely by many as if it were a high-stakes drama. Her sudden disappearance has only fueled rumors that she is attempting to evade the growing scrutiny catching up with her. It is assumed she staged her Houdini-like disappearance to hide her tracks, but the real question remains: how long can she stay hidden before authorities, especially the FBI, catch her in the act? The community is exhausted by the uncertainty her absence has caused, and both the public and law enforcement are eager for the final act to unfold. For years, Henyard's unchecked leadership style alienated not only the people of Dalton but also her political allies. By rejecting opposing viewpoints and ignoring the concerns of the people who elected her, she sought to reassert her authority, but it ultimately backfired. A town assembly was convened, but the outcome was not what Henyard had anticipated. Not a single member of the Board of Trustees showed up, and the empty seats sent a powerful message of disobedience. Henyard knew at that moment that her political career was collapsing. Her once loyal board had become a source of active resistance, and the realization hit her hard. Her power had slipped from her grasp. The tight control she once exercised over Dalton was now gone, and what had once been a promising political career was now viewed with disdain. The people of Dalton, once optimistic about her leadership, began to wonder if she could salvage anything from the situation. Tensions escalated, and her leadership and reputation disintegrated. Henyard's once powerful position had now become a liability. Her impatience, driven by a desire to maintain control at any cost, led her to disregard the influence of Dalton's citizens. At one point, the Board of Trustees openly voiced their displeasure, pointing out serious shortcomings in her leadership. The political powerhouse Henyard had once built seemed to be approaching its end. Her remaining stronghold, her loyal board, had now turned against her, and the future of Dalton looks increasingly bleak. The residents of Dalton, fed up with scandal-plagued leadership, are finally demanding the long-overdue accountability Henyard had failed to provide. The cracks in her political foundation are widening, and there is no denying that her authority has become a liability. As the tragedy unfolds, it is clear that Henyard's credibility and leadership are irreversibly declining. The overwhelming opposition she faces, not only from her board but also from the very people who once supported her, leaves her with few options. Each passing day brings more damning evidence, and time is running out for Henyard. The people of Dalton are ready to overthrow her rule once and for all. Her grip on power is slipping fast, and it seems her political career is coming to an end.
Sir Tiffany Henyard wanted the Board of Trustees to approve some events that she wants the township to pay for, but none of the trustees showed up for.
Tiffany Henyard, Dalton's former mayor, had always been a figure who commanded attention. Despite frequent controversies, she was a resilient leader who knew how to handle rejection. In one of her final acts as mayor, she addressed the town board in a defiant display of confidence, even though not a single trustee showed up to the meeting. Standing at the podium, Henyard made no attempt to hide her unbothered demeanor, turning the situation into her own personal drama. She boldly asserted that the scandal surrounding her was nothing more than a large propaganda campaign designed to undermine her magnificent administration. According to Henyard, the animosity against her was simply a ploy to discredit her exceptional leadership. But the residents of Dalton had heard enough. In a rare moment of unity, the town's people interrupted Henyard's speech, bluntly declaring, "We already know you're stealing from us." Despite these bold accusations, Henyard, ever the adept defender of her own actions, remained unfazed. "Your super mayor became too powerful too quickly," she claimed, as though this somehow justified her rampant misuse of public funds. She continued speaking with unusual confidence, refusing to acknowledge the growing frustration in the room. It was as if nothing had changed and the increasing public discontent had no effect on her sense of control. However, as she spoke, the evidence against her was becoming indisputable. Dalton detectives had uncovered credit card records that revealed Henyard and her administration had racked up an astounding $67,000 in travel expenses, charged to the town's budget in just 5 months. When factoring in charges made by Dalton residents, the total ballooned to nearly $100,000. Despite the mounting evidence, Henyard attempted to justify the extravagant spending by claiming that her attendance at various conferences was essential for her role as mayor. She argued that she and her team had become deeply involved in these events, making the expenditures necessary. Meanwhile, Dalton's finances were being recklessly drained under her supervision. Things took a darker turn when Henyard and her administration ignored public requests for records for months, violating state transparency laws. This lack of transparency led to legal action. The Illinois Attorney General's office, led by Attorney General Bell, urged the community to push for the release of the withheld documents. In response, the parent firm of Gillies filed a lawsuit in Southeast County Circuit Court. The judge, highly critical of Henyard's actions, sided with the plaintiffs and forced Henyard to release the documents. Despite mounting legal pressure and overwhelming evidence, Henyard's supporters remained fiercely determined to defend her actions, which had now escalated beyond simple financial mismanagement. What had started as a case of fiscal irresponsibility had grown into a deeply entrenched issue of trust and accountability. The situation worsened when the village council hired former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot to investigate Henyard's financial practices. Lightfoot's findings were shocking. She revealed that she had never received the necessary financial statements that were supposed to be delivered to the trustees. This revelation ignited an instant public uproar, forcing even those who had been aware of Henyard's financial misdeeds to confront the grim reality of the situation. By April 2022, Dalton's credit card spending had spiraled completely out of control, pushing the town deep into debt. In response, the village board adopted a resolution requesting that Henyard's conduct be investigated by the federal government. This marked a significant shift in the political climate, signaling the unraveling of Henyard's once dominant position. By May 2024, Dalton's finances had suffered a severe setback. 4 of the 6 trustees had grown disenchanted with Henyard's leadership, and during a meeting, they discovered a $3.65 million loss. The town's once healthy balance of $5.6 million had plummeted, leaving Dalton on the brink of financial disaster. This drastic loss served as a wake-up call for the entire community, revealing the depth of Henyard's mismanagement and the irreparable damage done to the town's economy. What was once seen as a promising leadership had turned into a nightmare. The residents of Dalton, who had once supported her, now found themselves demanding justice, unable to ignore the truth any longer. Despite all of this, Henyard continued to stand strong. She faced intense scrutiny, but her power and influence were rapidly eroding. The Board of Trustees had come to the realization that accountability was necessary if they were ever to move forward, and they demanded an explanation for all the questionable expenses accumulated during her administration. It was clear that Henyard's control over the town was slipping away. Her efforts to maintain her grip on power were complicated further as the FBI's investigation into her actions intensified. The FBI uncovered even more troubling evidence of Henyard's misuse of public funds for private expenses. Though these expenditures were ostensibly for legitimate purposes, they raised serious concerns such as the loss of 6 police cars and other questionable decisions that negatively affected public services. One of the most troubling aspects of the investigation was the use of Dalton's credit card for personal purchases from Amazon, Walgreens, Wayfair, and Target. Additionally, it was alleged that Henyard had used public funds to rent expensive items for her personal use. As the pressure mounted, Henyard attempted to avoid the spotlight, retreating from public view. However, the FBI was closing in. Investigators learned that they had requested personnel and disciplinary records for 29 Dalton employees, and they were also looking into contractor payments made to Henyard's assistant, Keith Freeman, who also worked for the Thorne and Township in a similar capacity. A raid on Henyard's home unearthed a comprehensive list of her alleged corrupt activities, and the truth about her financial dishonesty began to surface. The people of Dalton, long frustrated by her actions, grew increasingly vocal in their demands for accountability. Henyard's attempts to hide behind a curtain of secrecy were no longer working, and the FBI's investigation was making things worse for her. As the financial situation continued to deteriorate, it became clear that the damage Henyard had inflicted on Dalton was far-reaching. The town's finances, its trust in local government, and its future had all been compromised by her actions. The town was in turmoil, and Henyard's once unassailable hold on power was unraveling. Henyard's time as Dalton's mayor, once filled with promise, was now marred by scandal and corruption. What had been seen as an administration capable of bringing progress had turned into a cautionary tale of unchecked power, financial mismanagement, and betrayal. The investigation into her actions was far from over, but one thing was certain: the truth was coming to light. It would not be easy for Henyard to escape the consequences of her actions. As the town waited for the outcome of the federal inquiry, her political career appeared to be in its final stages. Once the youngest and first female mayor of Dalton, Henyard's rise to power had been meteoric, but now, in the face of mounting evidence and public outrage, her fall from grace seemed inevitable.